Hi everybody, it's Connie, and this video is going to be my first attempt at a video tutorial. And the subject is going to be using a smartphone or a touch screen, especially as a new blind, um, for the first time, in other words, as a blind person. And so it's just going to be very basic. And I'm sure this is just going to be the first of many, so we're not going to cover that much because I'm going to go at a slower pace than many of the other videos and things that you'll find on the web, because they try to cram as much info into as little space as possible, which there's definitely a time for that. I found some good in the past. Can't think of any specific ones offhand, but there are some good audio tutorials, but this is going to be a video, so I am wearing my glasses, although I'm going to assume that you're totally blind, so I'm going to be describing everything as I do it. But in case you have someone sighted watching with you, or in case you are low vision, you'll be able to see what I'm doing as well. So I'll appreciate any feedback as far as if I'm, when the time comes, whether I'm holding the phone close enough to the glasses, or if I need to hold it further away, or etc., etc., so that you can see it the best. And so like people that are probably seniors or people that just don't have that much experience with tech need to learn at a little slower pace and just be a little more relaxed about it. So that's going to be my approach for this video, and please feel free to ask any questions or any topic you want me to cover in a future video. And maybe there'll even be some teachers on here that work with blind people, and they might get some hints or tips and tricks as far as different approaches to teaching their blind clients or whatever. So I have an Android phone, and I know that isn't the most popular for blind people, although it's getting to be more. And I personally, there's not anything that I could do on one and not the other. I mean, there's a few apps that are annoyingly only available on iPhone, but slowly but surely they eventually, or a version thereof, does end up on Android. What I like about Android is not only is it a lot cheaper, but so that means more people can afford it, obviously, but also it's a lot more customizable too than iPhone. So that's just kind of my basic approach in general. Like I prefer NVDA to JAWS for a lot of the same reasons, and haven't found anything that I can't do with that that JAWS can do. So anyway, there's my tangent for the day. Hopefully that will be my only one, but don't hold your breath, because you know how I can be sometimes. But I'll try to stay focused here, because the glasses tend to heat up after a while too. So I want to kind of keep this as concise as possible, and before the battery runs down or anything. And so if the friend has an old phone that they're no longer using that you can practice on, that would be an ideal situation if you're just wondering whether or not you even want to buy a smartphone at this stage in your life or whatever, and what it can do for you. It's kind of a way to weigh the pros and cons without fully committing, because you can just hook it up to the Wi-Fi in your home without actually like activating the phone function. So you wouldn't be using it as a phone right away. You'd just be using it as a mini computer, and kind of familiarizing yourself with how the touch screen works and how the different apps that are available and stuff like that. So that could be an option if you didn't want to totally jump in and commit right away to a phone. And like I said, I'm using an Android, but it's pretty similar to iPhone, but it's not going to be like if you have an iPhone, you should be with somebody who is knowledgeable about the iPhone, and then they can tell you like, well, on an iPhone this is a little different. You would do this like this or whatever. And even phones among themselves, the different brands, like in Android, there's Pixel, there's Samsung. I have a Samsung A54 to be precise, so even the different versions can differ a little bit. So if your phone isn't exactly laid out the way mine is, that's pretty much par for the course, but this should just at least give you a basic idea. The first thing you'll have to learn how to do, and this will be probably the most frustrating just because you are still unfamiliar with how a touch screen works and how easy it is. Some people find or difficult, depending on your frustrating because they barely touch something and it activates when they didn't want it to or whatever. They move around the screen, they think slowly, but yet they're running their finger across all kinds of stuff and it just doesn't really make sense to them. But so this first task will be unlocking your phone, and I mean, once you get the hang of it, it will be a piece of cake and it'll just be automatic and you won't even think about it. But until then, it will be frustrating because it'll seem like a little task like this is difficult, and you might kind of be a little daunted, like, if this is so hard, how am I ever going to do anything else? But it kind of builds on itself, and it almost seems like the phone learns from you too, like what you like, the motions, and it kind of adapts to your particular way of doing things. At least that's my theory, because it really seems like for me at first when I get a new phone, it's more difficult to unlock it than it is later on, but that could just be because I'm getting used to the phone as well. But anyway, so of course TalkBack needs to be turned on. So I guess even before we talk about unlocking the phone, we'll have to talk about this. So on an iPhone it's called VoiceOver, and all smartphones already have the capability built in, which I think is awesome, that we no longer have to get special phones or whatever just for blind people. It's already built in, and all you have to do is just go into your settings and turn it on. And so also I'm assuming that somebody else has already done the basic setup for you for the phone. I mean, later on, even that is a piece of cake, especially now, because they just have made it so much more intuitive than even it was back like 10 years ago or whenever I got my first smartphone. Like doing a factory reset or getting a new phone was a big pain unless I had somebody sighted there to help me, because there's just a lot, like before the screen reader was activated, like you were wondering what's going on the screen, whereas now they have it so you can pretty much turn your screen reader on from the get-go and you pretty much do all the steps independently. But it still would be a lot for a first-time user, so I'm recommending that you have a phone that is already has the basic like you're signed into it, and you have a few apps on there already or whatever. And so the TalkBack is the name of the screen reader. TalkBack is the name of the screen reader for Android, and or it's the voice that makes your phone talk, and it is separate from the Hey Google, or for iPhone it would be Siri, like your assistant, which is kind of like your Alexa device or whatever, that you can talk to, which I'll get into that probably in a future video, like all the different things you can do by talking to your phone. Like you can have your phone open apps for you instead of you having to find them on the touch screen yourself, and different things like that. And so, but that is a totally different thing from TalkBack, and it has the voice sounds different, and you can even change the voices now too. You can have TalkBack in a different voice if you want, or the Google assistant would. So yeah, it's not hard for you to distinguish which is which, but just to avoid confusion, I wanted to clear that up, that TalkBack is not the same as your assistant that you can talk to. You'll want to be sure, first of all, that that TalkBack is on. So let me get my phone out here, and I hope I don't forget at some point. I get so wrapped up in this that I forget to hold this in front of my glasses or whatever. Oh, and this is not as comfortable as I was hoping it would be for me to hold it like this, but I will try my best here. Oh no, I forgot that, shoot, that I cannot hear my phone when I'm recording a video. So that is a big bummer. Because I was hoping you would be able to hear TalkBack too, so I wasn't really thinking this through very clearly. So I might try to do a future video using my webcam on my computer, and I'll just have to like turn my phone facing away from me and then manipulate it that way, which I'm kind of doing that right now just to practice, and that should be doable. But then you could at least hear what I'm doing. But we'll see how far we get here. Just so don't really look at my screen, because I don't even know what's on my screen right now of my phone because I can't hear it. But I will just show you the basic motion to turn on TalkBack. You want to push the up and down button at the same time. You push and hold it for several seconds. And the volume button, usually, not always, but well, yeah, the volume button is pretty much always on the side of the phone, usually the right side. And it's a long button, so it's really only one button, but yet for the to turn off and on TalkBack, you do have to push the top end of it, which is volume up, and the bottom end at the same time. So like you put 2 fingers on it, and so like for mine it's the top button here on the right side of my phone. So I put my first finger on the top of the long switch here, and my second finger is on the bottom part of it, and then I push and hold, and I don't really want to do it because I'm afraid I'll actually turn off TalkBack, and then I'll be in a pickle when I well, but you get the idea. You just basically push and hold, and you'll like feel that you're pushing 2 different like the top and bottom buttons, and you just hold it for several seconds, and it should hopefully say like TalkBack off or whatever. But if it doesn't, sometimes you have to let go and then it will say it. So like you just have to hold it there for 3 or 4 seconds and then let go, and then your screen reader will be on if it was off to begin with, or it will be off if it was on to begin with. So like if somebody else is using your phone, you will want to turn off TalkBack first, because they aren't used to having the voice on, and it can be really distracting for them. And also TalkBack has implemented a thing where you like have to tap on something twice in order to activate it, and that is to prevent accidental activation, because sometimes you might just be looking around the screen with your finger, and if it didn't have that feature on it, because sighted people, they only have to tap on something once to activate it, but you have to tap on something twice. And so if someone's helping you that's sighted, they're not used to that, so they're going to be wondering, why isn't this phone working when I tap buttons or whatever. So you should always like turn off TalkBack when they're helping you, and then turn it back on again when you're ready to use it yourself. And then the other button on here, so I'll turn this sideways just for a minute. So this is the volume up and down button, and then right below that is my power button here. And sometimes, although I don't think this is the case anymore, but one of my older phones, the power button was on the back of the phone, but now there's like these cameras there and whatnot. So anyway, the power button though, and it's also, these are called side keys because they're along the side edge of your phone, the volume and power. But what the power button does when you just So TalkBack, or the power button, I should say, it when you just lightly tap it, it only turns the screen off and on. It doesn't actually turn your phone off and on. So that is something that you might find a little confusing at first. To actually turn your phone off completely, you would need to push and hold on the power button for several seconds, and then you would eventually hear like a little vibrate on your phone, and that would indicate that it's off. And then to turn it back on, you would push and hold it again, and then you would hear a little brrr on your phone, and that would mean it's booting up. And then it takes a few minutes or seconds, I should say, for it to boot up. And if you have TalkBack automatically enabled, you'll hear it start talking, just like you would hear your computer start talking when you boot it up or whatever. And then you know it's ready to go. But the push and hold button for the power button isn't really the recommended way, because that would just be like doing a hard reboot of your phone, and you would really only want to do that if your phone was like totally frozen or something and you didn't have any other options. Kind of like turning off your computer just with the switch isn't really recommended. The better way is to do it with like shut down with like the keyboard commands. And so but when you do push and hold on the phone before it turns off completely, it will give you options for that. Like it will say, do you side key settings, do you want to power off and restart. It's funny how much you forget when you don't actually have it here, because I was hoping to actually demo that for you, but it's not really one of the main things to worry about at first, because you don't really have to reboot your phone that often, just once every several days or whatever, whenever it starts giving you issues or whatever. So that's not really one of the most important skills to know right off the bat, but I just mention it because we are talking about the side keys on your phone. And so for the most part though, you want to be aware that your phone uses a lot more battery when it is on and when the touch screen is on. So after a few minutes of non-use, it will automatically, by default, I mean, you can customize this in your settings about how long you want it to wait before it turns off, but it will automatically turn off after a couple minutes. And for the most part, that's a good thing, because you don't want to waste battery unnecessarily. So, because unlike a computer that you can plug into the wall, this is like battery operated, so you want the battery to last as long as possible. So if you're not using the phone, it's going to automatically turn off if you don't turn it off yourself. So then that's why you always have to, the first thing you do when you grab your phone or whatever is to press the power key, just a quick press, and that turns on the screen. And then the second step you'll always have to do is to unlock your phone. And of course that is for security reasons, so like nobody, if they like you can have really secure locks, like where you have to type in a password every time to unlock your phone, or do a fingerprint or something like that, but that isn't really necessary. I mean, I don't have any of that on mine, so it's not as secure, but it's a lot easier. And I just try to be very careful not to lose my phone. But even if I did, I mean, most of my sensitive apps like that I have on here, like PayPal or anything like that, they have their own inbuilt security measures, like where you have to type in a password first or whatever. So anybody that steals the phone still isn't going to be able to just get into all of your apps, because it's similar to how a computer works. So anyway, but the main reason for why the phone locks every time the screen turns off is because if you have it in your pocket or whatever, it's very easy for the power key on the side of the phone to turn on by accident, and then it's very easy for the touch screen to become activated if there was no lock on there, because it's rubbing against your pant leg or whatever else, and it's just very easy for like then to activate things unintentionally or to move things around, and then you'd be totally confused the next time you pick up your phone. So every time you turn it on, you'll also have to unlock it, and so that's why I say this is the first thing you'll need to know, and just keep practicing it until it becomes automatic. And so whoever's helping you set up the phone though, and I think this, like new phones are pretty much this way by default, where there is it's the easy lock is the default, which is what you want. So be sure that it's set that way, that all you have to do to unlock your phone is swipe with 2 fingers. So like once you tap the power button to turn Once you tap on the power button to turn on your screen, then it will be locked and you'll have to just swipe with 2 fingers. Like I hold my phone in my left hand, so with my right hand I would just, like on the bottom third of the screen, like not way down at the bottom, but just toward the bottom, you just kind of swipe like that. I'm not actually touching my screen because I don't want to mess anything up, but so yeah, you just swipe though across there, and it's easy, like I said, once you get the hang of it, but not so easy until you do get the hang of it. So you'll hear a little click when it's unlocked, and it will say like screen unlocked or whatever. So that will be the first thing to just keep doing over and over until you have that down pretty well. But it'll get easier, and if you get tired of doing that and wanted to do something else for a while, you can just keep listening to this video here, and I'll tell you the next steps to take, what I would recommend, and then you can always practice the locking and unlocking more later, but it's definitely something you'll want to know very quickly, because right after you put your phone down for a couple minutes, it will turn off and you'll need to unlock it again. So anyway, you'll want to have your phone decluttered, especially at first, because you don't want to be confused by a bunch of apps and stuff on your home screen. So immediately when you unlock your phone, you will have your home screen. And I should say too that even before you unlock your phone, there's things that are accessible to you before you even unlock it. Like you'll see some things like on the top, like battery charge, how much is left, or like your notifications and stuff. All that is available to you before you even unlock your screen. But once you unlock it, you're presented with your home screen, which is customizable. So that's where you can pretty much have that set up the way you want it. Like have your apps that you use the most in the order that is going to be easy for you to remember where they are and stuff like that, just for ease of use. So there's a top and bottom row that's already built in, and that they stay the same no matter what screen you're on. And so you will always have that top and bottom row. So I would suggest at first to just put 1 row in the middle of your screen with your favorite apps, like maybe Be My Eyes and the messages, like where you can send texts and stuff, and your phone app, like where you can call people and stuff like that. So if you just have those 3 apps just to kind of practice with at first, like I have mine in alphabetical order. So like I would have Be My Eyes first, and then right beside that you can put your phone, and then in the middle, and then right to the right, messages. So then that would be like, that's a pretty good number of apps to have per row for beginners to like just get the idea of how to get to certain things. So but first we can talk about the row here that's on the bottom of your phone. And so like mine would be recents to the left, and then the home button, and then the back button over on the right. Some phones that's reversed, where the back button's on the left and recents on the right, or whatever, but you have the basic idea. And some people also have a physical home key, that you can actually like feel. It's right on your phone, and you can just tap that to go back to your home screen. But in this, most phones, I believe, just have it. It's just a button that you find with on your touch screen, and that's what you double tap at any time if you're like lost on your phone and you don't know what's happening or whatever. You can always just find your home button on the bottom row of your screen in the middle and double tap it, and that will take you back to your home screen. So then you'll be back to familiar territory. So like that would be the next thing I would recommend that you practice, is to just find those 3 things on the bottom of your screen, and TalkBack should tell them to you. So like you just put your finger near the left corner and slowly slide to the right. Wow, windy. And you should hear your phone say like back, the back key, and that would take you back to whatever your previous screen was. And then if you slide a little more, you should hear TalkBack say home, and then if you slide a little more to the right, you'll hear TalkBack say recents. So once you do that a few times and familiarize yourself with approximately where those 3 things are, then you're able to just go right to it. Like instead of having to find first back and then home then recents, you can just know approximately where the home key is, right there in the middle on the bottom row there. So then you can practice just like finding the recents, for example, and double tapping. Nothing will really happen at first because you haven't activated anything else, but you can just kind of practice finding the different things there on the bottom. And the second, that's called Explore by Touch, where you just basically put your finger right on. Okay, gotta draw this to a close, but that best way is to, that's called Explore by Touch, but you can also swipe to the different buttons, like swipe to home and then just swipe your finger across the screen again. It will say recents, or if you swipe left, it will go backward. If you swipe forward, it will go forward to your different buttons. So you can practice that on your middle row too, that somebody else will put on there for you with your favorite apps. You can go like find the first one in the middle row, which is like Be My Eyes, and swipe, and it will say phone or messages, and swipe again, it will say phone. Swipe backward, it will say messages. Swipe backward, it will say, or to the left I should say, and it will, or else you can just find it by finding the middle row and tapping, or just slowly sliding your finger around. So there's 2 different ways to do that. I hope that made sense. I'll cover it more in depth on my next video on this topic, but please like and subscribe and tell me if this was helpful or not. And you can also change the rate of TalkBack too, which we'll get into more of that in later videos as well, because it will be kind of slow, but that's probably what you want at first. And there's also a TalkBack tutorial. If you tap with 3 fingers, you can get to the tutorial and practice that more on your own if you want. There's also a lot of written documentation on the web for how to do this, if you prefer that method, or YouTube videos and stuff. So be sure to Google any questions you might have as well. And thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.